rather than spend any time re-ranking the sports card investment report, I'll just say, everybody check back at nooffseason.com. A lot will happen. A lot will change over the next several weeks. To Paul Fisher's point about NBA free agency, get ready for all of the basketball to get re-ranked. Get ready for hockey to get re-ranked in the offseason, and for football to continue to be tweaked as we go towards football season, and for me to reach out to Kendall to get him to help us re-rank some baseball. So check back in on that. Let's get to audience Q&A from the Sports Card Strategy Facebook group, as well as this live stream's chat has been off the chain. So we're going to answer all your questions that you've put in the chat. And let's see, there's one that just came in from John. John says, is Jason Tatum a good investment right now? And since I've gone first and Paul Fisher's disagreed with me on guys like Tyrese Maxey, I'm going to let Paul Fisher go first. Is Jason Tatum a good investment right now, Paul?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I think the Celtics could be a super sneaky team for Durant, like Jaylen Brown and a couple other players for Durant. I don't know if that team blows up, the Nets blow up. I would put the Celtics maybe at the front of the line for a package for Durant. That changes my whole opinion. I think until we see the shakeout of free agency, I really wouldn't actually make a prediction on any player being a good investment right now, because ultimately, like the window in the NBA can change so fast. Like 2 years ago, we all would have thought that Brooklyn would have had a title by now. They don't, right? So like things can change so rapidly. I would say if you're up on Tatum, I'd crystallize the return, because I feel like you could probably buy back in. The pricing's still, probably pretty strong on Tatum. He's a nice player. He's got a lot of mileage on the legs pretty early in his career. He plays USA basketball as well. Celtics, I guess you'd call, would be a national fan base. So that would be something that they do have fans all over the place. So there's always going to be, people that like the Celtics. There's going to be people like me that hate the Celtics. So that's probably a good thing. It keeps them relevant in discussion. I think the Celtics have a very good team. I hate to say it, but I think they're going to be around for a while. They've got very, very good management and some very good role players. To me, if you're even on it, I'd probably hold. If you're up, I'd sell. And depending on how much you're down, I'd probably sell, just looking at, opportunities that are elsewhere.
Yeah, I'll go next, Kendall. So I think Tatum's a sell. I do think he has a new floor, so I think he's not a horrible hold, but I'm not going to repeat anything what Paul said. I'm just, because I agree with everything he said. I'm just going to add on how hard it is to get back to where you were the year before. And so I think that I think that the risk with acquiring Tatum right now or anytime in the next 12 months is going to be like, I agree that Boston's going to be around for a while, but like around can mean second round playoff loss, and that's a good season. But that does nothing for his cards with the expectations that he's going to go back and win a championship. So it's just super hard, especially with Paul's point about how quickly things can change. Like other teams can become way more competitive than they are right now that Boston would have to face. But yeah, Paul, you bring up a really interesting point. I've been telling the audience for a few weeks now, and I've been writing in the Sports Card Investment Report for the last few weeks, last couple of months actually, to not buy basketball cards until after the NBA draft, because the NBA draft will have a lot of shakeups and movement. But now with free agency starting, it's probably like hold off even longer until after the big names land somewhere in free agency. The Kyries, the KDs, Zach LaVine to a certain extent, not as much. DeAndre Ayton to a certain extent. If DeAndre Ayton were to go to a team like Boston, or if DeAndre Ayton were to go to a team like a team that's already highly competitive and like one piece away, maybe Dallas, something like that, that could be a big move. But it's really more the KDs, the Dames, the Kyries, I think. Wait till those guys land, and then I think we'll have a full picture. So we're close. We're really close. But that's my take on Tatum. What do you think, Kendall?
Well, I love like bringing up the fact that I picked Tatum in the gauntlet. So
yes,
I'm going to go ahead and say that. But I think I'm not buying Tatum because the way that game 4 through 7 ironed out really disappointed me. And I think when I think perennial guys, when I think perennial, like set it and forget it, buy cards perennially, they're always going to go up guys. I think of that guy that has the absolute no quit Mamba mentality, Dame Lillard, that kind of guy that's like coming back, gets broken nose, coming back, always there. The continuous competitor. I don't see that in Tatum. I don't see that. And here's why I say that. In game 6 specifically, there was a run in the third to fourth quarter where Steph was just eating his lunch. And I wouldn't say his lunch specifically. I'm talking about the Celtics in general. And there was a moment where I remember Steph at the top, they'd done some switches, and Al Horford is guarding Curry. And it's like a 10-point game. And I'm watching Tatum, and he's off in the corner ready to help off. That's not a championship mentality. What I wanted to see from Tatum, which really would have put, like, I would have believed in him from then on, which I would have been like, if Tatum says, you're not beating my team in game 6 unless you're going to go through me. That's an investable trait. And Tatum said, this team's good enough. I think we could beat Curry. Instead of the fact I wanted him to say, I'm good enough. Curry's not going to beat me. And I think that is the difference to where I am not going to invest in Tatum because I don't see that Mamba mentality in him. I don't see that I am the best player ever and you're going to have to prove me otherwise in him. I see him as a great role player, maybe like a super Evan Turner,
all-time role player. Yeah,
like super Evan Turner. That's where I see like. I would say the other way I would say is like Evan Turner is Jason Tatum light, but and so that's saying that he is better than that. I'm not trying to compare them like kind for kind, but I'm saying like he's not Durant, he's not Kobe, he's not LeBron, and I think so I'm out personally. I think he's a star and not a superstar.
That's the problem with these teams that get there once. Like, I don't think Devin Booker's that guy either, and they got there. They got to the finals, what was it, 2 years ago? I don't think he's got that killer instinct in him either. I think he would have rolled over the same way that Tatum did. That's the thing. There's only a handful of those type of players in the league. There really are. It's, I believe Giannis would have.
Giannis would have been like, you're not beating me, dog.
Exactly. Giannis would have guarded him. I think Jimmy Butler would have guarded him. Dame absolutely would have. Kawhi would have. Obviously, LeBron would have. I think KD probably would have, although his defense hasn't been great.
I don't know about that.
I'm
a KD hater, obviously.
There's 10 players in the league that would do that, right? Like,
Kawhi would have.
Kawhi would have.
For sure.
That's, it's funny when
Kawhi would have.
Like, closest to Kobe that we see now? Who's the closest? I love thinking about that. Like we saw Tatum walk into game 6 with a Tiger shirt on. Tiger Woods. He texted Kobe's past number, but he wasn't that dude, right?
Yeah.
I thought
it's one thing to admire Kobe and then think that you're better than Kobe.
Yep.
Like, honestly, the guy who's going to be the next Kobe is going to think that Kobe is trash compared to him. And we're gonna laugh at it for a while until we're like, oh damn, he is.
And Kobe would love that.
Yeah,
he would be so happy about that. That's why I think it's probably a guy like Kawhi. Like that's if I was gonna say who's the closest to Kobe in the league, it's Kawhi.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I love your guys' take on all the NBA stuff and John. So going in a little bit of a different direction. John also asked, what sports cards are best to invest in short term? And I do think this is a tougher question to answer, and there are some answers. Paul, what do you think? Is there anything that you would invest in short term right now?
What short term?
Yeah, what is short term? We're talking 6 months?
Yeah, let's go 6 months.
Take a look to see who's dipped the most in the football market. I think Russell Wilson is probably pretty interesting because I think the Broncos are going to be really good. I would not touch Tom Brady with a 10-foot pole. I think there's nothing but huge downside risk with Brady. So I'd be looking at Derek Carr might be interesting. And again, like I don't know a ton about the football market. I think the football market is actually probably one of the riskiest markets, just as I don't see international buyers. I'd probably be looking at World Cup. I mean, I still think in the grand scheme of things, like Messi stuff is really cheap. Like I, on a percentage basis, on an absolute basis, the most amount of money I've made in cards was on Messi Mega Crack 71s. So I bought several of them and sold them at the very, very, very peak of the market. I still think that card, in hindsight, now that, when I look at it where it's come down to, like, I mean, his other rookie cards from the Mega Crack sets are hideous, so I would never buy any of them. The 71 is the most attractive card, right? So to me, when I look at like an all-time soccer card investment, because I don't see, Zidane and Pele and their rookie cards to me are just not really recognizable cards. The 71 Mega Crack Messi, to me, like, I think you could buy that card right now. I've been personally watching it, and that's something that in 6 months' time, that if Argentina plays well, you're going to make money on that card. If you're good at prospecting soccer, like Kendall, I know you know a ton about soccer. I think you can probably do fairly decently around the World Cup. I don't know if you make money on any sports card in the next 3 to 4 months, though. I think that you're going to need the football season to shake out. So you're going to need to at least get into the playoffs and have someone like Russell Wilson have a really good season and the Broncos be a threat to, potentially go to the Super Bowl. You don't have anything. I don't know. In baseball, there's not any prospect that I'm,
right.
super fun, Vladdy Guerrero. Like, I mean, I love Vladdy. I think there's nothing but downside for Vladdy right now. So I'm probably looking 6 months is the very first time you're going to be able to make money on sports cards. And it's probably what quarterback makes the Super Bowl. And, how did you do in the World Cup market?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, World Cup's 5 months away, but really 6 months to where you would make money off of it. You got to make the right calls. I think, everything else you said. I mean, one guy, Lamar Jackson, I'll add into your discussion, just checking the pricing on him. He's been high on our sports card investment report, along with the other guys Paul mentioned. Kendall, talk to us about baseball prospecting and soccer prospecting. Any words of wisdom for John and others out there watching and listening in terms of opportunities to make money in the next 6 months or shorter than that?
Yeah, it depends on your risk analysis or your risk tolerance, because there's guys that you're going to make money swing trading if your risk tolerance is super high, and if your risk tolerance is not high, then I would say that Paul answered your question the best that he could have right there. I think the 2014 World Cup Prism set is super low population for what it was. So what I would be looking at, and this is something that Chase Krim and I, who came on last week, we've done, is go through and look for the Ronaldo and Messi 2014 World Cup and go get you 1 or 2 of those in a PSA slab. It's a nice set. It's a World Cup set, and I think Messi and Ronaldo are going to be paraded really hard through this World Cup because they are 2 active GOATs. They are confirmed 2 of the best players of all time, and this is probably their last World Cup. I could see Ronaldo making another one. I could not see Messi making another one. But they're going to be paraded. And Portugal's pretty good, and Argentina is okay. I would say Portugal has a better chance because some of their young players are phenomenal. But what I would say is now I'm not – I just basically crapped on Argentina for no reason. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying Ronaldo's World Cup 2014 card is really low population for what it is. So if you could go find one of those, I think that'd be a pretty good sell. I also think you could go watch some of my card investor videos from the sports card investor stuff. I've talked about some guys that are going to be good plays in the World Cup there.
Kendall's talking about the Soccer Card Strategy Show. So if you go to soccercardstrategy.com, you'll see all of Kendall's great work there. And he's got a lot of guys that are soccer prospects that he thinks could pop during the World Cup. So, and we've got Ronaldo number 1 overall on our soccer card rankings for the reasons that Kendall just mentioned, is that he's solidified and probably the least risky guy.
And he's the guy that we've talked about that's got that GOAT mentality of you are not going to beat me. Portugal could be down 2-0 at the half in an elimination game, and I still feel confident that Ronaldo could score 3 goals. Like it's just
is Ronaldo if Portugal won this World Cup, is Ronaldo the best player of all time?
Oh, absolutely. I think so.
Would you say Messi is now though?
No.
No.
I'm not willing to say that Messi's the best player of all time right now.
Would you say that it's Ronaldo though right now?
No.
No. Okay.
But I'm not. To be fair, I'm not sure that I have this is the best guy of all time guy.
Like because when we talk about like catalyst, we talked about the LeBron catalyst, right? To me, that would be probably a pretty low risk, high upside play is to go in on Ronaldo. I've heard some smart people suggest Ronaldo autos and stuff like that as well, because there's not a ton of Ronaldo auto cards out there. So that's for sure I like that play a lot.
And I think Ronaldo's got that post-career swag that it's going to come out, and you're going to see Ronaldo all over even after he's done.
Yeah.
Like with the same way you saw Maradona. Well, here we go. Yeah, Pele's probably who I would put number 1. But with Maradona paraded himself up because he was a partier. He paraded himself all over, and people loved him just because he was in the limelight. I think Messi will hide from the limelight, personally. I think he will go and be a family man, which Ronaldo is a family man, ironically, but like his family is also in the limelight. His kid is going to be pretty damn good at soccer, I think, and so anyway, I would say that Ronaldo is the best 6 month. I also love the Russell Wilson play. We've talked about that on our sports page or our comments page in Facebook. Me and Paul have, but I love the Derek Carr as well. I think he's a sneaky play, especially in his division. Interestingly enough, I think the one of the lowest on the totem pole right now that could see some run if he performs is Baker Mayfield. I think if he goes to Seattle, like the reports have said over the past 24 hours, that they're pretty much going to trade for Russell. I mean, why would you not trade for Baker personally? Because you're not going to roll out there with West Virginia man at quarterback. What's that guy's name?
Geno Smith.
Yeah, you're not going to have Geno Smith as your quarterback. Like, you're going to find somebody else. And so Baker's probably going to end up in Seattle, and I could see him, if he performs, his cards are at a near floor. And I think he's got a chance. He's got some good talent out there. I don't know. I don't love the Baker play, but I could see that as if your risk tolerance is high and you're willing to swing for a fence, Baker might be a good play.
That's right. Andy Kaysen doesn't disagree with you. I know from talking to him on that. And so we've moved Baker up just a little bit in our football card rankings, but cautiously.
Yeah, I would say like that's not a for sure thing. Like, please do not gambling advice there.
Not at all. So guys, there's one question I want to get to from the Facebook group that came in from my post welcoming new members. We've had some growth in the Facebook group. We love to see that. But Jason Miyazaki, who we answered his question earlier, but we're going to give him another one. So he says, when grading an auto with PSA, do you always go for the dual service or just the card grade? Do you see a big difference in selling prices between PSA 10 and PSA 10 and auto 10? And I'll take it first, and then Kendall, I know you probably want to chime in because you answered it a little bit on the already on the Facebook group. So thanks for that. My experience is that okay, so you don't pay more, you don't pay PSA more for both grades. I believe that if you think, and it kind of depends on like, so my experience is I've bought cards specifically that are like Beckett slabbed, Beckett witnessed autographs with no card grade for the specific purpose of crossover grading them with PSA to get both the card and auto grade, because I know that the comps that I've seen on the same card with a card and auto grade, regardless of the grade, go higher than just the Beckett witnessed slab. So I know that was kind of a mouthful, but like it's easier for me to answer that on the show than like type that out in the Facebook group today. So basically, if you're buying it to crossover grade it, I think that you're going to go auto grade, card grade, unless you're looking at it and you're like, this auto sucks. It's like coming off the side of the card, or it's like, it's running, the letters are running or whatever, for whatever reason. Then I might say, just go card grade in the PSA slab and auto DNA certified. That would be my general rule of thumb, but you're not going to, I would say most cases go card grade, auto grade, because I think the more information that you can lock in, I think it just lets the buyer feel more confident in what they're buying. So I think that's how I see it, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Paul, do you want to go first?
I think it's somewhat, I don't know. I think it's splitting hairs, honestly. I don't know if there's one way that's going to like have an outcome that drastically performs different. I look at the card. I mean, I bought a raw, the 94 Upper Deck Mantle Griffey Dual Auto, which is super, super rare. And I bought that maybe 2 years ago, and it's like ballooned in value. The story behind the card is that they actually shipped them to Mantle and Griffey, and they were shipping them back and forth to each other. So Griffey would sign it, and then he mailed them to Mantle. And a lot of them got damaged in transit. And the one that I bought had quite a bit of surface damage. So what I ended up doing is I just had it graded authentic. And I didn't get the grade on the card. So it was
is an awesome card, by the way.
Yeah, it's a really cool. They're extremely hard to find. I wish I actually had it here, but I don't, to show. It's a really iconic card, and I'm super bullish on it long term. But I thought it was important to, obviously show that the autographs were authentic. Outside of that, because of the surface damage, my thought is like this thing might grade a PSA 5 or something like that. So that's like, could that potentially hurt the value of the card because, it's such a low PSA grading? So I don't know. I think it's the condition of the card matters just as much as the condition of the autograph as well.
Yeah, and like I said, I think if you're crossing over from like a Beckett, you will increase the value by getting it graded in PSA, and I think you will increase the value of getting a new PSA slab. So if you have like a blue slab with a PSA DNA cert on it, the old blue slab, I think you will increase the value by going new slab with a card grade. Even if I guess to Paul's point, like if the card looks like it would be a 5 or whatever, and it's a relatively, like, it's not like super vintage, then I would maybe just only grade the auto. But I think in general, you probably are splitting hairs, but there is a little bit of a strategy behind it. So hopefully that helps Jason and everyone else watching and listening. And so before we go to the outro of the show, I just want to say that John, I did mention Lamar Jackson. So I think Lamar Jackson, actually, he's number 2 in our football card rankings. And I believe he is a guy that you can make money on if he comes back and has a MVP caliber season, plays most of the games, and if the Ravens make it far in the playoffs. But again, to Paul's point, that's 7.5 months away. So that's about the shortest term that we think for guys like Lamar, guys like Russell Wilson, etc. And then before we go, let's make this our last thing. Sunstabber joined. Thank you for joining. And they say, hey, John, can you elaborate on your stance on Tom Brady? I think what they mean is, hey,
well, he was talking about it in the comments above it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I didn't see a comment above it, so I double checked that. But Paul Fisher mentioned Tom Brady. Paul, do you want to elaborate on why you wouldn't touch Tom Brady with a 10-foot pole?
Yeah, I like the values. Like I think a lot of people were nostalgic for the end of Brady's career and wanted to maybe hold on to Brady a little bit longer. I know myself, like I just really despise all Boston sports teams. It's just, I think that most Toronto fans are like that. So it was never a Pats fan. I had huge respect for Brady though. Like there was something about me despised the Pats, but I liked Brady because he was probably the closest thing to Jordan that we had ever seen. And you want to cheer for winners, right? I think the value of most Brady stuff shot up so drastically over the last couple of years that I just don't see the catalyst for it to go any higher. I see actually as Brady stuff as maybe having the potential most downside of any GOAT right now, because it went up so high. And another thing I'd say with Brady is there are so many rookie cards. Like there's all those Michigan rookie cards. Which I find that collegiate rookie cards never perform very well. There's all of those. There's so many Bowman Chromes out there. The refractors are pretty rare. There's some cool, obviously the Contenders card is super cool, but there are so many Brady rookie cards. How do you determine what is the best one to go in? And when there's that many products that are requiring investors to put money in to keep the value up, I think at some point there's not enough demand for those cards to keep them at those prices. So I could see Brady stuff. We talked about stuff it being baked in. I could see Tom Brady stuff dropping 50% from where it is right now. Maybe not the major cards, but certainly some of those collegiate cards, I could see them coming way down to earth the exact same way that LeBron came down to earth. And, that was painful for people. So as much as I want to cheer Brady and, him being the ultimate winner, I also, I was checking Vegas odds for futures for Super Bowl. I was shocked to see that the Buccaneers are actually behind the Bills. I find that very hard to believe. Maybe that says more about the NFC than anything. As much as I want to believe and cheer for Brady to win another Super Bowl, I think the odds of it are so small, and the downside, I'd be putting money in Trey Lance or Aaron Rodgers or almost anything other than Tom Brady.
Very cool. Very interesting. Good points. Thanks, Paul. Paul, thanks for joining us, man. This was great. I know Kendall and I were excited to talk to you today. Really appreciate your insights. Thanks for being part of the community and a leader in the community that we are building. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. On behalf of the community, I know you guys put a ton of work into it, and your ability to respond, engage, to keep a really positive attitude, all of those things, I think that this is the coolest community. I'm really, really excited and interesting to see how this grows. I hope, as someone that's in the community, I would suggest share this group with your friends, share this people with smart people in the industry so that there can be more comments and, more ability for us to interact and ask engaging questions to each other. We can all learn. I think the more dialogue that you can have, the better. The better chance you have at succeeding in making money in sports cards will be driven by your ability to ask and answer questions. And for the two of you guys, I know how much work goes into this. I thank you on behalf of the community that you put this much effort into creating content. I actually enjoy the fact that there's a daily email. Sometimes it's, some people don't want a daily email. I wake up every morning, I get Wall Street Journal and Sports Card Strategy, off-season email. And I think that's awesome. That takes a lot of effort to do that though. So I'm cheering for you guys to continue to grow and, to be able to make this platform larger, to monetize it, to continue to create opportunities for yourselves as well. Because creating a community is a hard thing to do. It really is. But on behalf of everyone, I'd say thank you from the community.
Thanks, Paul.
Awesome. That means a lot. Kendall, I'll give you the last word before I go to the outro. I always give you the opportunity to say something before the end of the show. It's going to be hard to follow up Paul, but
I'm super thankful for what you do, Paul. I know that you put a ton more work than I do into it, so thank you. My little 1 minute spiel that I always love to do, that Paul gives me the opportunity to talk about whatever the heck I want for 30 seconds. Here it is. I think it's interesting that the Minnesota Twins pitching coach leaves the Minnesota Twins pitching coach position midseason and goes to be the pitching coach of the LSU Tigers right after the end of the College World Series. I think this is something that's unprecedented in baseball. Well, maybe not unprecedented, but definitely rare. We see this happen in basketball and some other sports, but for the MLB to have a pitching coach leave an organization and not go further down into the organization as a head coach role, or even move down to become a head coach, we see a position going from a lateral position into a College World Series role is interesting. So there you go. That's something that news came out today. And also, I wanted to say, Paul, we had a player or a person a couple of weeks ago talk about Vinny Pasquantino, and he got the call up today. The Royals traded Carlos during this podcast. So, what am I trying to say here? Trying to get my thoughts straight. Carlos Santana has been traded to the Mariners, which is an interesting thing in general, but that it is Vinny P time in the Royals system. So
love it. Love the follow-up. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching and listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show, brought to you by nooffseason.com, the Sports Card Content Network. And regardless of what happens in the sports card market, we are going to continue to update the Sports Card Investment Report, and you can save 20% at nooffseason.com by using the promo code NOOFFSEASON, all lowercase. And check out our partners, Market Movers, marketmoversapp.com. You can get your first month for only $1 by using the promo code NOOFFSEASON. And if you want a free t-shirt, go to nooffseason.com/t-shirt. Why not? Everybody, thanks so much and have a great day.